Well, hi, welcome back. This is Shane with Shane's Books and Review, and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. To our book now, Chuck Palahniuk, Invisible Monsters. What a read that is. Spoilers. Any discussion video is going to have spoilers. Just putting that out there. Our book starts out, of course, with our unnamed narrator. What a individual. Okay, some things to know about this individual, which I think I'm going to call Kelly for the time being, because she gets all kinds of names throughout the book from Miss Brandy. We've got our unnamed narrator. She grew up on a farm, and she had some issues whenever she was younger, and her brother had some issues whenever he was younger. She really comes from a family that's just really off kilter. Like any family, going to have some issues here and there, right? It's the way of life, really. If Chuck were to have told the story in a straight fashion from beginning to end, I don't think it would have been near as entertaining as it was in reading it and the little snippets and pieces that we got. So really, I don't want to break it down in that way, but I'm going to keep it easier for myself, because if I try to jump around like he did, bad things are going to happen. So we've got our unnamed narrator, I'm going to call Kelly. Her brother, Shane. It's not a very common name, and it kind of weirds me out when other people have my name. Growing up, nobody else had it. So if you do have the name Shane, I hope that you're doing the rest of us proud. This particular Shane, he has issues with a lot of things, really. He seems like in the story as it's told that he was probably one of those types where he was a maximum output, minimum effort individual, and that he was a basketball star, was very popular. Same thing with Kelly, our narrator. She was very popular. They both were incredibly attractive individuals. Her dad had some practices like taking pigs before they got to market and feeding them a bunch of sweets so that they'd weigh more before they got sold at auction. Great practice there. So their family life really wasn't the best, I'm assuming, which produced two incredibly unique individuals. As the story opens, Kelly is having issues talking. The reason why is because her jaw got shot off in her vehicle. A lot of the internal dialogue that she has is directly related to her telling the story of Brandy Alexander. And it's easy to forget that little snippet because it happens in a very short time in the beginning of the book, where there's a shotgun on the floor. Kelly and Brandy are there, and Brandy asks that the one thing that she wants is just for her story to be told. Now, our unnamed narrator, she, of course, is missing that jaw. She's in a hospital. She's trying to recover, and she's having to deal with a lot of religious people. You tell us she's really not a religious individual herself, which would make her uncomfortable to begin with. And they're doing their best, but it makes her feel like a complete and total freak, because even though they think that they're treating her well and they're trying to treat her well, she still is missing her jaw. She can't talk, and she went from being an incredibly attractive individual to being somebody that's less than attractive at best. She talks about the trauma of being in the hospital and people trying to cover her breast for her so they can take pictures of her face and what happened, and it's really a traumatic thing. And I could imagine how hard it would be, being that you're used to your own self-image, and then this is gone and there's nothing but a horrific scar left behind with no jaw, the mouth. It would be so hard to do anything. And she goes into a lot of that. The book can be best described as a love book that's gone wrong. And that's really what happened. Brandy Alexander got shot by Evie. Evie was her best friend. They went to modeling stuff together. They went to some schools together. They shared a house. And our unnamed narrator had a love interest in the past, which was Mantis. Essentially, things go really awry really quick. Brandy Alexander and our unnamed meet up in this speech therapist type of a place. Brandy treats our unnamed character a lot differently than everybody else, or everybody else is treating her with mittens and making her feel worse and worse about herself. Brandy's just kind of like, look, screw you, screw what happened, who cares? Just forget it all. And they end up piling around a little bit and then take off. In our next scene, we find out more about what they're doing now, which is they pretend that they are different individuals than who they are, either being incredibly rich or moguls, and then they go into these older people's homes that are selling them and then steal their prescription drugs to sell on the market. And this is how they're making their living, so we think. And it's through this story, long extended car ride from like Canada pretty well all the way back to their home and in different places. It doesn't really focus so much on where they're at, just that they are traveling around. There's this thing that happens during this traveling where Brandy and our unnamed character finally realize who each other are. Now, when we get past all the traveling and the stealing of drugs and all that kind of thing, there's a core story that I mentioned earlier. It has to do with the relationship of Brandy and our unnamed character. whenever they get done with all their exploits and traveling around, and we get into the latter parts of the book, we have found out that Brandy is actually Shane. Shane doesn't know that this unnamed narrator is his sister. They ended up reconnecting with each other. She thought her brother was dead. There was a really bad accident. He went out to burn some trash. There was a big can of hairspray. The trash exploded. They thought that it would have scarred him. It burned up all of their clothes. Our unnamed character, she spends a lot of the book just trying to get past her hatred for her brother. Once you get to that point where she finally spills the beans about Shane being Brandy Alexander, then things start to click into place. But still, there's like some things that just aren't quite there. There's some information that seems to be missing. And we get to meet the Rhea sisters, which, what a group of names. And it's so ridiculous, it's actually plausible that this could happen. They come out with this little doll. It's really pretentious. You pull the string and it says some things that you really wouldn't want your kids to have, but apparently everybody loves it and they're eating it up. And on top of that, they sell the clothes for so much more than what the doll is worth. That's how they funded themselves and how they helped to change Shane into Brandy. And it was something that he wanted to do, or he thought he wanted to do. Now, that's a whole nother part of the book. But anyway, the long of it all is just simply this. It's a good ride. I enjoyed it a lot. I'd like to know what you think about it if you did read it. It is a very thought-provoking read. So where would you do something like that? Where would you tell me what you think about it? It's the comment section down there. It was a really good read. I enjoyed it highly. It was because of those unexpected twists and turns. He's really good at that. He's really good at making somebody feel uncomfortable. Those are probably two of the things that I felt the most in the book, was just my own emotional duress because of what the characters were going through, what they were experiencing, and things that had happened in the past, and the unsolved issues of their lives, and how that negatively affected them in the end. In a way, it's a beautiful tale. In the origins, we find out that Shane's sister, Shannon, which is our unnamed narrator, she was in love with Mantis, but maybe he wasn't so much in love with her. He ended up sleeping with her best friend, Evie, and then later on, and the same thing is alluded to happening with Brandy Alexander, it's got her so broken on the inside that she decides that she loves Mantis so much she has to destroy him. It's a big emotional type of a story for them, and I'm curious to know, if you have read it, what did you think about it? Is it a book that you'll go back to? So what would I rate the book? I don't like giving ratings. You should know that by now. That was a trick question. Gotcha. But I would recommend this if you enjoy the books that make you think, make you feel a little bit uncomfortable. It is a really good story, but it is a non-traditional good story in that way. It's because of how far out the story is, how far out the mental issues of the people go, what they're willing to do to get to it, because it's very fanciful in a way. The book today was Invisible Monsters by Chuck Palahniuk. Like, share, subscribe. This is Shane with Shane's Books for Review, and I'll see you in the next video.